absolutely still.
A T-Rex. A rogue professor.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Jeff Goldblum. This guy from Seinfeld.
Dodson! We've got Dodson here!
A couple of random kids. So, is Jurassic Park possible? Hello and welcome to Is It Possible, where we ask, is it possible? And find out if it is indeed possible. During the course of this video, we'll be taking a look into what Jurassic Park is really all about and the science behind it. Establish whether it makes any logical sense from a story and script point of view. And then see if it would be possible in real life. So, without further ado, let's see if Jurassic Park is possible. Jurassic Park is a tale of this guy, billionaire John Hammond, who brings scientists and a small group of visitors to his groundbreaking island theme park. And it is here where we have they have been brought back to life through genetic engineering. When a power failure shuts down the park's security systems,
What? Door security systems are shutting down.
the dinosaurs run amok, and a whimsical trip soon becomes a life-threatening nightmare. In which Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler must navigate and eventually escape from. Now, the original novel was written by Michael Crichton. Crichton received an MD from Harvard Medical School but never pursued this field. He instead became the writer and director of the original Westworld film in 1973, and as well as that, he wrote a number of novels, most of which were high concept and centered around the same themes that Jurassic Park focuses on, especially genetic modification. Now, considering his MD is from Harvard, it's fair to say the man had a deep knowledge of the medical field and ultimately science. So there's a lot of Jurassic Park that makes perfect sense. For example, after the release of the film in 1996, humans successfully cloned a sheep.
Her name is Dolly. 7 months old, she may not be the monster imagined in a science fiction fantasy, yet the cuddly Finn Dorset lamb may represent a major landmark in the history of genetic engineering.
Dolly was her name, and she was cloned from a single mammary cell of an adult sheep through a process called somatic cell nuclear transfer. Dolly lived for 6 years, so the idea of cloning scientifically is possible.
A clone was created from a single cell taken from the udder of a sheep. The embryo was then implanted in a surrogate, making an exact genetic copy of its so-called mother.
Also, as far as accuracy goes, well, planes do exist, computers do exist, and so do cars. Not sure why they're on tracks, but this was the 90s, I guess, so we'll blame that. But I'm afraid that's kind of where the science ends, because there are a bunch of more, shall we say, questionable things about the plot and the science that we need to talk about. But before we do, I think it's only fair to compare how accurate the book is to the film. And as always, there's quite a lot of key changes. The film was directed by Steven Speilberg, and of course, therefore, it has more of a family and hopeful feel to it. The original book is more dark and more science-based. Now, this is evidenced by the fact that John Hammond is a ruthless and profit-driven man in the book, whereas in the film, he's a lovable rogue of a man. The hinted romance between Alan and Ellie is non-existent in the book, and most likely for budgetary reasons, there are less dinosaur encounters in the film, including a chase in a river. The most significant change from the book is that at the end of the book, the Costa Rican government step in and just blow up the island.
I already dropped them!
which actually seems like a very wise choice. However, in the land of Hollywoodland, that choice is less wise. I mean, we wouldn't have this masterpiece of a scene if that had happened. Don't worry, Jurassic World, you're gonna get your turn. So there are a few changes, but honestly, as far as book to film adaptations go, there aren't that many, and they all make sense as far as the movie making goes. Now, fun fact, did you know that the original cast for this film could have been Harrison Ford as Alan, Robin Wright as Ellie, Sean Connery as John Hammond, and Jim Carrey as Ian Malcolm? Now, that would have been a hell of a film. Now, I want to see that version of the film. I did a poll on the channel and I asked the simple question, if you had the chance, would you go to a real-life Jurassic Park? And the results were... Now here's the thing, in theory it sounds amazing. You get to see real-life dinosaurs, which is wow. I mean, if you gave me a chance to see space, I'd snap your hand off.
Houston, we have a problem.
But the problem comes when you start to really put things into context. A T-Rex is as tall as a 3-story building, which is comparable to 7 human beings being on top of each other. How would you maintain, control, and safeguard that? There are plenty of dinosaurs that were of a similar height and one that was even taller. Unless you decided to sedate them all, but who wants to see a bunch of sedated dinosaurs? Not you guys, apparently. But that isn't even the biggest issue. The biggest issue is getting there. As mentioned briefly, the island in the movie is based in Costa Rica.
I own an island off the coast of Costa Rica.
However, to add to this, it is situated in Isla Nublar. Don't bother looking for it on a map, it doesn't actually exist. It's a fictional island located off the west coast of Costa Rica in the Pacific Ocean. Now, a flight to Costa Rica on a commercial plane is anywhere between $600 to $700, which is not overly expensive, but also not cheap. However, that takes you to mainland Costa Rica. To get to this fictional island, which houses the dinosaurs, as part of some Disneyland-like experience, well, what would the cost for that be? Now, as a real-life comparison, Elon Musk, who is basically the same as John Hammond at this stage, is charging anywhere between $55 million and $88 million per seat for his SpaceX adventures. So, mere pocket change. Taking into account the science, security, and logistics of a real-life isolated Jurassic Park with a fictional island built from scratch with its own transportation system from mainland Costa Rica, we can assume a ticket would cost a generous $1 to $3 million per person. Honey, I'm just off to a leisurely $1 million trip to Costa Rica and Jurassic Park. I'll be back soon. So just to recap, you'd need an island big enough to house these giant dinosaurs. They'd all need to be sedated and controlled 24/7, and then cordoned off in such a way that they have no threat to humans. And then also, only really available to those of you who can casually drop $1 million for just one ticket. All seems pretty easy, right? Fun fact number 2. Did you know that James Cameron actually wanted to buy the rights to this book? Which makes sense considering his love for science. However, it was purchased just 15 minutes earlier by Steven Spielberg. So, is Jurassic Park possible then? Well, no. At its core, the premise is flawed. So I mentioned before that back in 1996, humans successfully created Dolly the sheep. But Dolly died at only 6.5 years old. Most sheep live for between 10 to 12 years. Now, to add some context, there's no conclusive proof that she died due to being a clone. But putting that to one side for a bit, to clone anything, you need its DNA. There has never been any dinosaur DNA found. And that is most likely because the DNA of a dinosaur would be 65 million years old. The oldest DNA dinosaur humans have ever found is just 1 million years old. Even if dinosaur DNA were found, it would likely be in short fragments. that wouldn't provide enough information to successfully recreate a dinosaur. There is a chance that they could replicate it, but replicating a dinosaur genome would require billions of base pairs, but ancient DNA has never been found with more than 250. The last option would be to create artificial animals that look and act like dinosaurs. This could be done by reverse engineering a living animal, such as a chicken, to have teeth or a long tail. But I mean, would you pay $1 million to look at a fake dinosaur chicken type thing? And that leads to the next problem, and that is the logistics of even housing many dinosaurs. Let's face it, based on the poll especially, a lot of you would go on an island of just one dinosaur if it was safe. But could you afford the $1 million ticket? And say for example they managed to keep the cost down and made it affordable, like in Jurassic World. Well, we all know how that ended. So again, no, putting aside the financial and logistical side of the actual park, bringing dinosaurs back to life simply isn't possible. So this is a complete non-starter. I guess you'll just have to stick to safaris. Or maybe not. Now there's nothing to say that in maybe 10 to 30 years, this will all be possible, rendering this video completely irrelevant. Science is evolving so quickly nowadays. But in the film, there's an incredibly written conversation between John Hammond, Alan, Ellie, and Ian Malcolm that raises such a great ethical and moral question.
I'll tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it. You patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well,
Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. This isn't some species that was obliterated by deforestation or the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot, and nature selected them for extinction.
So, no, unfortunately right now you won't be jetting off to a special island to be crushed by a T-Rex. So it's conclusive, Jurassic Park is not possible. But in the comments, let me know which movie you'd like me to do next, and don't forget to hit the like button. Until the next one.